In the heart of the great African plains, where the sun kissed the golden fields and the rivers sang melodies of ancient times, there was a village named Golda. It was known for its rich lands and strong warriors, but above all, for its beautiful women. And among them was Nyah, the daughter of Chief Osei. Nyah was a rare beauty. Her skin glowed like polished ebony, and her eyes carried the mystery of the deep forest. Every man in the village desired her, but none dared to dream of her heart. Except for Kofi. Kofi was a hunter, strong and fearless. He was not a warrior of the chief's army, nor was he a man of wealth, but he had something greater. A heart full of fire and a love that burned only for Nyah. The problem? Nyah was promised to Kuntu, the chief's strongest warrior. Every evening, the villagers gathered by the great bonfire where the elders told stories, the women sang, and the men boasted of their strength. But Kofi's eyes were only on Nyah. Nyah, sitting beside Kuntu, could feel Kofi's gaze on her. She tried to ignore it, but deep inside, she longed for him too. Her heart betrayed her every time their eyes met in the flickering firelight. One night, as the drums echoed through the village, Nyah's mother leaned in and whispered, "Why do you look at Kofi when Kuntu is beside you?" Nyah swallowed hard. "I do not know what you mean, Mama." Her mother sighed. "Desire is like a river, my child. If it flows the right way, it nourishes. If it overflows, it destroys." Nyah nodded, but inside her heart raged like a storm. One late afternoon, Nyah went to fetch water from the river. She dipped her calabash into the cool water when she heard footsteps behind her. She turned, and there he was. Her breath caught in her throat. The air between them felt heavy. "Kofi," she whispered, looking around to make sure no one was watching. Kofi stepped closer. "Nyah, I have tried to stay away, but my heart refuses." Nyah gripped the edge of her water pot. "You must not say these things. But do you not feel it too?" Kofi's voice was low, almost desperate. Nyah looked into his eyes, and at that moment she knew she could no longer lie to herself. "Yes," she admitted. Kofi's hand brushed against hers, sending a shiver down her spine. For a moment, the world disappeared. There was no chief, no Kuntu, only them. Then, the sound of rustling leaves made them step apart. "We must go," Nyah whispered. Kofi nodded, but as she walked away, he knew this was only the beginning. Days passed, and their longing only grew stronger. They stole glances, brushed hands in passing, and dreamed of each other in the silence of the night. One evening, when the moon was high and the village asleep, Nyah slipped out of her hut and made her way to the river. Kofi was already there, waiting. "You came," he breathed, his eyes filled with hunger. "I could not stay away," Nyah whispered. Kofi reached for her, pulling her into his arms. Their bodies pressed together, hearts racing. "I will take you away," Kofi murmured against her hair. Nyah closed her eyes, imagining a life beyond the village, beyond the rules that bound them. "Where will we go? Far from here. Somewhere we can love freely." Nyah hesitated. She loved Kofi, but leaving meant betraying her family, her people. "I do not know if I can." Kofi cupped her face. "Tell me you do not want this, and I will never ask again." But Nyah could not say the words. Instead, she kissed him, pouring all her love, all her desire into that moment. But love born in secrecy cannot remain hidden forever. Unbeknownst to them, Kuntu had begun to suspect. He had noticed the way Nyah's eyes followed Kofi, the way she stiffened under his touch, and on this night he followed her to the river. When he saw them together, rage burned through his veins. Without thinking, he stormed forward. "Kofi!" Kuntu's voice thundered through the night. Nyah gasped and pulled away. Kofi turned, his muscles tensing. "Kuntu!" Kuntu's eyes were wild with fury. "You dare touch my woman!" Nyah stepped between them. "Kuntu! Please!" "Silence!" Kuntu roared. He drew his spear, pointing it at Kofi. "You will die for this betrayal!" Kofi clenched his fists. He had no weapon, no way to fight back. But before he could react, Nyah did the unthinkable. She grabbed Kuntu's arm. "Please let him go." Kuntu's face twisted in pain. "You would beg for his life?" Nyah's silence was answer enough. Kuntu's hands shook. He had fought wars, faced death countless times, but nothing hurt more than this. With a deep breath, he stepped back. I will not kill him, Kuntu said, his voice cold. But you are no longer mine. Nyah's eyes filled with tears. The next morning, the entire village gathered before Chief Osei. Kofi and Nyah stood before him, their heads bowed. The chief's voice was heavy. Kofi, you have dishonored my warrior. Nyah, you have betrayed your promise. What do you have to say? Kofi lifted his head. I love her, my chief. I would give my life for her. Nyah took a deep breath. I love him too, father, the chief sighed. Love is not an excuse for dishonor, the elders murmured in agreement. Chief Osei looked at his daughter. Nyah, because you are my blood, I will not cast you out. But you will never be married in this village. You will live alone, without a husband, without children. Nyah gasped. A life without a family? It was worse than death. Then, the chief turned to Kofi. And you are banished. From this moment, you are no longer welcome in Golda. If you return, you will be killed. Kofi clenched his jaw. He had expected death, but this was exile. Nyah fell to her knees. Please, father. The chief shook his head. The matter is settled. Tears rolled down Nyah's cheeks as she watched Kofi walk away, his shoulders heavy with grief. Years passed. Nyah lived in solitude, never taking a husband, her heart forever longing for Kofi. And Kofi. He wandered from village to village, but no land ever felt like home. Their love had burned brightly, but like all forbidden flames, it had left nothing but ashes behind. And so, the elders say, desire is like a wildfire. It may warm you for a moment, but in the end it leaves you with nothing but pain.